Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak about something that I'm very passionate about. And now, I please don't want it to be a very formal talk, so please interrupt me, stop me if you want to have. If you have a question, please ask me. So I was watching the $1 Million Golf on TV the weekend, and they had an interview with Gary Player. And I remember the story about Gary Player. He was a world traveler, and he arrived in that time at Jan Smuts Airport one morning, and as he got off the aeroplane, there was a lady there that was his liaison in South Africa, and he saw her and said, hello, hello, please take me to the ladies' toilet. And she said, okay, Mr. Player, I know you're stressed and so on. He said, please take me to the ladies' toilet. And she took him to the men's, and he came out of the men's, and his pants was all wet on one side. And she said to him later, I'm sorry, I know it's awkward, but what is there something wrong? What happened? He said, it's exactly the same story every time. I have this phobia that I can't urinate on an airplane. And as soon as I get to the airport, I need to go to the loo. And everybody takes me to the gents. And while I'm standing there urinating, the guy next to me looks at me, and he looks at me again, and he says, aren't you Gary Player? I am very passionate about golf as well, but we have to speak about the prostate today. So this doesn't. Okay, so first, I want to tell you, why do you have a prostate? Why is it necessary to speak about the prostate? Now, the prostate is a gland situated just below the bladder, as you can see there. And the function of the prostate is to feed the sperms and alkalize the sperms so that the sperm can get to the egg and fertilize it, and you can become pregnant. That's the reason why we have a prostate. Why the big illnesses in the prostate start when you don't need it anymore is a question that I can't answer, but as soon as I'm there in heaven one day, it's going to be one of my first questions. So that's why one has a prostate. Now, prostate cancer has now passed all cancers to be the most common cancer in a man. The most common cancer that kills you is still lung cancer, but the most common cancer that a man can get is prostate cancer. And unfortunately, it is true that all men will get prostate cancer. You must just live long enough. Hopefully, I'm going to be 105, and then I'm going to be in heaven, so it's not going to be necessary. But all men will get prostate cancer. You must just live long enough. So it's very important to know about the prostate. Now, what are the symptoms of prostate cancer? When do you suspect, when do you think you have a prostate cancer? Now, the unfortunate thing is more than 80% of people with prostate cancer has absolutely no symptoms. So, and that's very important to remember, that you don't have any problem and then you do have a prostate cancer. If you're in the 20% chance that you do have symptoms, the most common symptom that everybody knows about is that you struggle to urinate. That you can't relieve your bladder completely. You start getting up at night to urinate frequently. You start wetting your pants like Gary Player. Or you try and drive to Cape Town and you have to stop at every town. That's the most common. Further, you can have symptoms like urinating blood, or pain if it's gone to the bone. But the most important point here is to remember that more than 80% of people with prostate cancer don't have any symptoms at all. So now, when do I need to go and see a doctor then? If I say that 80% don't have symptoms, when do I know when I have to go and see a doctor? Now, unfortunately, and we'll get back to it later, unfortunately, it's obvious that you must go then even if you don't have any symptoms. And our rule in urology is that if you have a family history, so if you have a brother or a father or an uncle or a close relative, opa or nearly said oma, opa who has had prostate cancer, then you must go for your annual checkups from 40 years of age. If you don't have a family history, you go from 50 years of age. So that's a very important point. Right, then, now the big thing is that everybody is scared of going to a urologist because we do examinations that are uncomfortable. And so in 1988, they developed a blood test. And we all know about the blood test. It's the PSA, the prostate specific antigen. So it's very easy to just do a blood test, and I mean, most of the labs a certain time of the year have specials, and one goes for a blood test, and are you fine then? You do your blood test and your blood test is normal, and are you fine then? Do you need an examination then? Now the unfortunate thing is that the blood test, yes, is very good, and we use it and we follow up people and we do it, but the unfortunate thing is prostate cancer has certain types, from very less aggressive to very aggressive. Now, we cure most of prostate cancers these days, we cure. But the ones that we struggle to cure are these very aggressive ones. And the very aggressive ones don't excrete this protein in the blood that is used for the PSA test. So the unfortunate thing is we all go for a PSA test and think we're fine, but the aggressive cancer, the one that we need to treat very early, we don't find it in the blood. So that's why it's very important to yearly go for your checkups. I know it's an uncomfortable thing. I want to say it's like when the headmaster gave you an hiding, he said it hurts me more than you. Now, which is not true. But I mean, it's an uncomfortable, but it's once a year and it's necessary to go. The doctor that discovered PSA, the prostate-specific antigen, he got the Nobel Prize for medicine for discovering it. And he's actually said now that he's sorry that he discovered it because of this fact that the aggressive cancers we don't find it in the blood. Okay, so then, what happens when you go to the doctor? What we do is, we're here for if you have any symptoms and family histories, and we check the flow of the urine. We can see what speed you empty your bladder, because lots of people, I always say it's like becoming fat. You don't really recognize it because you see yourself every day and slowly, and you don't. Now, urination is the same. You start urinating slower and slower and slower, and you don't really realize it. So we test the flow of the urine, we do a sonar, and we see how the bladder empties, and then, of course, we feel the prostate. We feel the prostate, we can feel its size, we can feel if there's an irregular area in it, and then we do a sonar of the prostate, which we can also see the size. And it feels uncomfortable, and it is a little bit uncomfortable, but I do it daily and it's very uncomfortable. Yes, please.
But isn't the sauna going to be enough, doctor, to check?
But remember, we do a rectal examination.
Yes.
With the finger. Now, to do a sonar of the prostate, you also need to do the sonar through the rectum. So it's exactly the same as, but it's not that really. And the gain that is a lot. Okay, so now, say we find something abnormal there in the prostate, we feel a nodule, or we feel something that's not right, or we see something on the sonar. The next step is that we do a biopsy of the prostate. Fortunately, that's under an anesthetic. So we give you a mask anesthetic, take the sonar, and we shoot needles into the prostate, especially in that area that we feel or see. We send that to the pathologist, and the pathologist examines it, and he says it is a prostate cancer, and he differentiates it into the aggressive scale that I said. And according to that, we then treat you. Now, we need to find the prostate cancer, and remember, as I said, all men will get prostate cancer. You must just become old enough. But more than 95% of prostate cancers we cure these days. Not suppress, we cure them. So if we can just find them early enough, we cure them. Now the treatment is on two legs. And to tell you which one is better, nobody in the world can, it's impossible. Now the one leg of the treatment is that we do an operation. That we make a small incision, and we go and remove the whole of the prostate. Because, as I said in the beginning, you don't really need the prostate anymore if you don't want children. So we remove the prostate. But to remove the prostate is a big operation, and it does have side effects. The most common side effect is that you lose your erections. And the second... The second thing that can happen is that you can have trouble with a leaking bladder. Now, everybody has read everywhere about the robot. Is that we remove the prostate with the robot. Now, the robot started about 10 years ago, and we all thought that's going to be the absolute answer. We're going to remove the prostate with the robot, and it's wonderful to work with the robot. And that's going to stop you from losing your erection, that's going to stop you from all the bladder problems afterwards. But unfortunately, 10 years down the line, it's not true. Unfortunately, if you do the operation via the robot, or you do the operation via a cut, is unfortunately exactly the same. And that's why the big boost about the robot is driven by the industry. It's a money thing. If you drive in America, you'll see on the big billboards, come and see us, we have a robot to remove your prostate. And it's human nature to think, if a robot operates you, it's as if the good Lord comes down and operates you himself. It unfortunately isn't like that. But it is a way of treating prostate cancer, and it has been for many years, and we have very, very good results with it. That's the one leg. But the other leg of treatment is a newer form of treatment. Also, I say a newer form of treatment, but we've been using it for about 15 years, about 12 years in Mosssel Bay now. And it's where we insert radioactive seeds into the prostate. we call it brachytherapy. And that's a procedure that you come into hospital, we do it, you go out the same day. I tell everybody you can play golf the next day. So, we don't do anything to your erections. So you keep your erections. Now, the big question then is, if you have an operation with a lot of side effects and you have the implant of the seeds, then what is the difference in cure rate? Because at the end of the day, that's the most important thing, to get rid of the cancer. Now, in all the studies, and the studies have been going on now for 15 years, as I say, and they're just starting to come out now, the cure rate of early prostate cancer with an operation is 95%. The cure rate of prostate cancer with inserting these little radioactive seeds is 95%. So it is exactly the same. So the message that we must take home today is everybody's going to get prostate cancer, and we must find it early enough so that we can really treat it. We cure it these days.
So I have two questions. The first question, I know I'm looking over, but I think it would be beneficial for the men in the room. I just wanted to know, seeing that there's more side effects with the operation, why is it that you guys are still choosing to do the operation instead of just doing the, I'm not sure if you just answered it as well, but like just clarify for me if I missed it. But like, why are you choosing then to do the...
Now, I wish I could answer that. I wish I could answer that. I used to do, before we had the seeds, I used to operate on everybody because that's the only option we had. Okay? And I stopped doing that. I used to do 2 or 3 of them a week. I think I do 2 or 3 a year now, because we implant these seeds and the people do so well with it. So the other thing is, the cure rate is 95% with an operation and 95% with the seeds. So it's 6 of the one, half a dozen of the other. And unfortunately, we surgeons, believe it or not, we like cutting open people and operating. So that's why it is so difficult to get people to realize to just do the seed implant. But it's becoming more and more and more common at the moment.
So do you give the people the option? Do you explain this to them exactly the way you're explaining it to us? And then they are the ones that choose between the operation and the...
Yes. Now, you must remember, that is, I mean, if I go to the golf shop, and I ask, and I swing and I ask the people, I trust them and I believe them which clubs I should use. Now, it's actually exactly the same going to a doctor. You trust what the doctor says. So if the doctor is somebody that operates, then most of the people get operated. If the doctor is somebody who implants seeds, then you're more prone to do that. You trust the doctor and you believe, and he doesn't do wrong by operating you or implanting the seeds. But I do both, and I tell everybody, this is our option. We've got this option and we've got this option. You're my father if it's me at the moment, with everything I read in the literature, and I do both. If it's me, I would go for the seeds. Obviously, because I walk in there and 2 hours later I walk out there, and it's exactly the same cure rate with less side effects. But then you must also remember that there are a lot of patients who come in there and one says, okay, you've got a prostate cancer, get rid of it. But we've got a treatment, seeds, get rid of it. Cut it out, I don't want it. So you do get people that want that.
Sorry, can I just, this is my final question.
No, please.
Sorry, so this is my final question. Say now a 40-year-old walks in, 40 years old is not that old, the person still has their whole life ahead of them. And you do the operation, and now the guy can't have an erection. He's 40 years old. Come on. Is there
Yes, we are in 2022. So fortunately we have treatment for an erectile dysfunction. And he will have an erection again, but he won't have it without help. Now, I mean, to speak about erections is a total different talk. But I must tell you that the first, it's actually very interesting. I'm off the point now, but it's very interesting. In 1988 was the first time that we had something for an erection. What happened is they developed a tablet which they thought was going to open the heart arteries. So they gave these tablets in, for some people they gave the active tablet, and the other people they gave the non-active tablet. People who have heart trouble with angina and so on. Then they saw, but this does nothing to the heart arteries. So they said, we're stopping the trials, bring back the tablets. Now the people who had the non-active tablet all brought it back. The people who had the active tablet said, no thank you, we'll keep our tablet. And then they tried to find out why. And then they realized that these tablets, these older men, because it was older men with heart troubles, all had their erections back. And that's how Viagra developed, which is an interesting story. Now, my professor, he always said, now before 1988 you had nothing. If there was a man who came with an erection problem, you examined him and did blood tests to see if there's not a major problem somewhere. And then my prof used to say, now remember in 1988 everybody smoked. So he used to say that if, okay, there's nothing wrong with you, sorry about the erections. And the guy would say, but what about treating my erections? He said, if you stop smoking, come back again. And he said, nobody ever came back. So, but that's a young, we used to say, and it's a very good question, it was 4 or 5 years ago, we still said that a young man of 40, we're not sure what the long-term results of these seeds are. So we'd rather operate and now we've got to get rid of it. But now we're 15 years down the line, and now we see that these seeds 15 years down the line are still curing the people. So now we even implant young men, and I'm very pro in, you know, a man of 70, I hope that's not me, but a man of 70, his erections aren't that important to him. But a man of 40 or of 55, his erections are still very important to him. And his sexual life is very important to him. So he doesn't want to not have erections anymore. So he's actually a perfect candidate for implanting these seeds.
So basically you treat it like erectile dysfunction then after the...
Afterwards you treat it like erectile dysfunction. And unfortunately after these operations, the nerves get injured during an operation. Now there are people that have a normal sex life afterwards. But it is actually, unfortunately, up to 70-80% of people struggle afterwards. And those people don't do well with oral tablets for an erection. They need injections for an erection. Okay. Now, yes.
Yeah, thanks, Doc. I think this is a very, very good information that we are getting today. Because if we can have a look at our communities, man needs health education, which is so scarce to find. Because there's a lot of perception about cancer. That is why maybe when someone hears that for prostate and then he wants it to be removed, and there hasn't been anything that was positive being said about prostate cancer. And secondly, people are still not yet aware of what can be done if you do have such and all these other things. And one of the most important things, let me not say one, the most important thing in our lives as men is erection. And you are being weighed and gauged
on such. I don't know on other platforms, but on our platform, especially in our culture, let me put it in that fashion because there's also culture involved. If you are a man and you've got a problem with erection, then problem starts. And you don't see yourself as a man. Even the other side, when you can do floor crossing, they won't recognize you as a man because it goes with you. But now that you did come with this health education to us, I so wish that this invitation can be extended to all men to access and get this information so as to be able to live a better life, because what we hear on the grapevine causes a lot of negativity and man loses that self-esteem, as in no one can still survive. It's just like if a person is prostate cancer, or cancer, just ordinary cancer, or is diabetic, people will say, no, the man that is diabetic, he's got the erection dysfunction, what. You see, and all these things, but we really appreciate this.
Yeah, thank you. I think I think the important thing that you also say is what I tell everybody is now you come and I tell you you've got prostate cancer, but if 1 year you have cancer, you have a big fright. And it's actually not bad news to tell you you've got cancer, because it's, as I said, every man will get prostate cancer. You must just live long enough. But if we get it early enough, you've got a 95% of being cured. So it's actually good news that we found it early, we're going to cure it, and these days with very little side effects. Very little. I mean, you don't need to lose your erections. You don't need. And the erections is it's also a very good topic. We must actually have a lecture about this. The other important thing is, if I say everybody's going to get prostate cancer, what can I do to keep my prostate healthy and to put out the date when I get my prostate cancer? And the things that I'm going to say now is actually just important, so important to keep your erections. And now, if you walk into clicks, if you walk into, I don't know, is one allowed to say this game? Clicks or this game? If you walk in there and you go to the tablet place, you'll see there 50, 60 different types of prostate this and prostate health and prostate so on and so on. Now, the European Urology Association has spent millions of euros to take all of these tablets and take everything that's in those tablets and see if it does make a difference. And in the end, unfortunately, it doesn't make a difference at all. If you want to throw away your money, go and drink those tablets and supplements. The important thing is, unfortunately, I was also a smoker for 20 years, and I said, if I can stop smoking, anybody can stop smoking. But the most important thing is to stop smoking. The smoking is for your prostate health, it's for your erection health, it's for your general health. And then to keep your prostate healthy is exactly the same as keeping your heart healthy. You must have exercise. If you have a good, normal, well-balanced diet, you don't need to take any of these zinc tablets and vitamin. It's not necessary. You just urinate out the excess. So if you have a good, healthy diet, it's more than good enough. So you must stop smoking, you must start exercising, and you don't need to go to the gym. And I mean, I can't go to a gym, I hate going to a gym, but walk around the block, buy a bicycle and drive around the block. Just a good, normal, healthy lifestyle is all that's necessary. Okay. And then, so, the take-home message. We've spoken about it over and over again, but please, I know a urologist has a bad name, but it's important. If you have a family history, go for your examinations, and not just a blood test. Go for your examinations once a year. If you're over 50, go once a year, and I mean, we can treat prostate cancer, we can cure it these days without losing your erection.
Thank you.
Okay. Good. Why you need So, I don't know if there are any more questions.
Het die wetenskap nog nie uitgevind wat die regte oorsaak is van prostaatkanker nie, want jy sê nou rook is een van die probleme, maar ek meen daar's duisende miljoene manne wat nie rook nie, wat nog steeds prostaatkanker kry.
Nou, kan ek maar in Engels antwoord?
Ja.
Yeah, it's a very good question, and it's something that we've been looking for many, many years. And if you have a prostate and you have a male hormone, your prostate grows with your male hormone, with your testosterone. So if you have a prostate and you have testosterone, you will get prostate cancer. You must just live long enough. Now, why? There's certain external factors that make the prostate cancer come earlier. And one of them is smoke, and that's been proven now. I know everybody comes with this, but there's so many people that smoke that don't get lung cancer, that don't get heart troubles. And my grandfather lived till 93 and he smoked 30 cigarettes a day. You do get them. But it's one of the things that causes prostate cancer. Now, to go into it a lot further, the country in the world with the least prostate cancer per 100,000 people is Japan. Now, they've tried to look and they've tried to see what it is. Why do they have so little prostate cancer in Japan? And now what they've realized, if a man, a Japanese man, moves to America, then he has the same high incidence of prostate cancer there. So what we think is the people in Japan, it's their diet. They eat a lot of fish, and now one of the things that we say is you must eat things with 4 legs 2 times a week. And the other 5 days, eat things with less than 4 legs. So eat chicken and fish, but red meat only. But it's exactly the same as for your heart. It's exactly. But there must be something genetically also, because we know if your father has prostate cancer, you get it a lot earlier. Your brother has it, but not everybody, but you do. You see how the body works. It's a very interesting. We've learned a lot about this in COVID also now. You produce cells the whole time. You scratch yourself, you produce skin cells. Your hair falls out. Sometimes they grow back, but they're supposed to grow back. So you produce cells the whole time. Now, one of those cells, the body produces a cell, and then it goes and it says, okay, this cell must go to the prostate, or this cell must go to the skin, or this cell must go to the lung. Then the body, the immune system checks it. And then the immune system says, but listen, there's a fault on this cell. It's not, it hasn't developed properly. And the immune system kills it off. Now, if the immune system doesn't kill it off, then it goes to the lung as an abnormal cell. And then it starts a cancer. Or it goes to the prostate and it starts an abnormal cell and it becomes a cancer. Now what smoke does, the nicotine in smoke, what it does, it interferes there with that system. So the immune system doesn't pick up that that cell is abnormal, and then you develop. It's much more integrated, but that's in layman's terms, as I also understand.
Thank you.
Okay.
Dr. Asa, something I would like to say. Just as ovarian cancer and breast cancer affects the whole family, prostate cancer does exactly the same. You must remember your health also affects your families. My husband had prostate cancer in 2006. Our daughter was only 12 years old. Now she's 28 years old and he's still with us. And I think that's the most important thing that you have to get from this whole thing. If you look after your health, you act very early and quickly and not think about yourself. You're also there for your family. And I think that's the most important thing. You will see that we made the fact that saying that you made is like a tree. And somebody will think he's stupid. But look at the tree, there's different branches. Your whole body actually expels from your health. So keep that in mind that you also owe this to your family to have a regular test, not just